Production of Kansas City Week in Review is made possible through the generous support of Dave and Jamie Cummings, Smithfield Foods, Haas and Wilkerson Insurance, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
They've had 4 years to prepare. Now it's actually happening. This week, guns now allowed on college campuses in Kansas. Wanted, a Republican to take on McCaskill as the GOP's biggest hope skips the race. Plus, subsidizing sports. Why Wyandotte County is now helping pay the taxes and electric bills to keep the T-Bones playing. And more misery, from worrying woes at Independence Center to unanswered questions in Johnson County. Hello, I'm Nick Haynes. Those stories and so many more of your local headlines to dissect straight ahead. They've been doing their homework to keep you informed. From the Shawnee Mission Post, Jay Center is with us. And the man whose job it is to keep you up to date, the host of Up to Date on KCUR-FM, Steve Kraske. The Kansas City Star's Steve Vokrot joins us around the cozy confines of our Week in Review table, along with the senior writer for the Call newspaper, Eric Wesson. Now, for the first time this week, Kansas colleges will now allow guns on campus, part of a new state law that went into effect July 1st. Students can have guns in their dorms, and professors can't stop students from bringing them to class. But will guns be everywhere? Well, a closer reading of the law shows that only students 21 and older are eligible, and international students can't carry a weapon, and you can't carry a gun if you're under the influence of alcohol or drugs. At KU, only 8% of students who live in residence halls are 21 and up. So will this have less impact than first thought, Jay?
Well, the number of students who are now eligible to carry who had been sitting on the sidelines and not doing so because it would have been illegal is probably very, very small. That does not mean, however, that these laws don't have an impact, and especially when guns are involved. All it takes is one gun in a situation where some signal is misinterpreted as a threat to turn into a real incident. So although you're unlikely to see tons of college students all of a sudden bringing guns into classrooms, like you said, college is an atmosphere where people are young, they're experiencing stresses they've never had before, there are lots of drinking, lots of drugs. The idea that even a few people might take this up, it's causing some people some real concern.
In just 1 week, we can't have a full sense of this because most students are not on college campuses. It's the summer after all. But many did predict that professors would be fleeing universities in Kansas over this. But the hordes of resigning professors have yet to materialize. In fact, there have been just 2 reported stories of faculty resigning. KU history professor Jacob Dorman publicly resigned over the issue in May. And this week, as the law went into effect, a strategic communications professor at Wichita State resigned. Deborah Ballard Reich issued a statement saying, "I cannot work in a climate in which students are fearful to claim their voices because the person next to them in my classroom may have both different views and a gun." Does the absence of wholesale departures of faculty suggest concerns over the new law have been exaggerated, Steve?
Well, I think maybe it suggests more that there aren't that many jobs in higher education, Nick, because I think there's great concern among my colleagues on the Kansas side. I think Jay dissected this very well. Let there be no doubt here, as a guy who makes part of his living teaching at UMKC, this changes the dynamics in a classroom in a very elemental way. Jay's right, these kids are young. Conversations in class can get heated sometimes. You're talking politics, you're talking the president, how the media covers him in my case, and the notion that some folks might be packing in that classroom, that's going to be something on the minds of every professor on the Kansas side.
Steve?
Well, you have a couple of instances of people saying fairly boldly, these are the reasons for my departure. For some other faculty who'd be less inclined to make a public statement, this might just be another element on a list of reasons why you would maybe seek a job somewhere else. And if the grass is greener in some other state where they don't have these types of laws, maybe better funding for higher education, that'd just be a reason to go.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to the fact that, if you've spent 6 or 8 years getting a PhD in Russian literature, philosophy or something, and you've landed a tenure-track position, those are very difficult to find in today's job market. So while you may not be immediately able to shift, you may be looking at the next 2 or 3 years.
7 people were killed in shootings during the extended 4th of July holiday weekend here in our metro. Chicago gets lots of attention. for its uncontrolled crime wave, well, guess what? Kansas City's homicide rate now outpaces Chicago. And if you're a young black man in Kansas City, you've got more chance of dying than an American soldier in war-torn Iraq or Afghanistan. Two provocative statistics offered up in an extensive front-page look at the rising murder rate in Kansas City in the Star this week. Adding to the problem is that a murderer in KC has just a 50-50 chance of being arrested, a dramatically lower apprehension rate than the national average. Why, Eric?
Well, there's a lot of factors. One, there's the no snitching rule, and parents let that kind of behavior be acceptable, and people in the community let that type of behavior be acceptable. One of the things that I know about being in, criminal activity is that criminals talk a lot. So there's nobody that's going to shoot anybody and not say, hey, such and such and such. So a lot of it has to do with that. A lot of it has to do with the police follow-up, and a lot of it has to do with the prosecutor's office, because they want perfect cases. If there's something missing, they'll send it back, and it goes back and forth. So that's why a lot of these cases aren't getting prosecuted.
Writing a letter to the editor, Patrick in Leawood was irked by the Star story, complaining it was too sensational. The lead article was headlined "Murder Capital." That's totally misleading, he says. Kansas City isn't even the murder capital of Missouri. That goes to St. Louis, that has almost twice the murder rate as Kansas City. And the alarming comment that Kansas City has a higher murder rate than Chicago completely sidesteps the total number of homicides in each city, with Chicago at 762 and Kansas City at 130. By comparing murder rates to Chicago or even to troop deaths in Iraq and Afghanistan, is that sensationalizing what's happening in Kansas City, Steve Okra?
Well, I always encourage readers to read the whole story, and part of what that story talks about is how actually the homicide rate has dropped in Kansas City if you go back to the 90s. It was higher in the 90s than it is today. And the way that the story measures the homicide rate is a per capita basis. So just doing a number-by-number comparison to Chicago doesn't really tell a full story, because the population of Chicago is much higher. And to the issue of sensationalizing, I can't really speak to that, because that's a word that gets used in ways that I don't really know what the meaning is anymore. But I don't think you can understate the issue of violent crime in Kansas City. It's still pervasive. No matter what it is in St. Louis or what it is in Chicago or other places, it is still a serious problem in Kansas City.
We can nitpick headlines all day long. I think Steve is right, Nick. I mean, the fact remains that Kansas City is still one of the most violent cities in America, and that's a fact that a lot of people struggle to get their arms around. I've said it on this show any number of times. There are multiple remedies out there that have to do with curing poverty, as if that can be done, getting everybody a job, improving schools. Eric Wesson just hit on a very important point, this anti-snitching culture that pervades the East Side. Listen, it's a complicated thing. A lot of folks who live there don't trust police for really good reasons. At the same time, in that community, sometimes if you snitch, you might get knocked off the next day. There's a lot of fear. These criminals sometimes hold people hostage in a sense, and the police's inability to crack that is easily understood in that context. I'm not sure we can ever crack it, at least where we are right today.
So was this sensationalizing the crime issue in Kansas City, Eric? Oh, you can't do that enough.
It sells papers. And if you're walking by and you see it, it gets your attention. And not diminishing the writers of the article, it had information in it. But it gets your attention, and it gives the paper a longer shelf life. So if you look at magazines do it, we do it, it'll get readers' attention, and that's what you want to do, is get their attention and get them to buy the paper. Now, whether it's sensationalism or not, that's a whole nother story. And like Steve said, what is sensationalism? Is that marketing or what? But
it's true.
But it's true.
It's true.
It's true if you look at the per capita. And one of the things that I heard in most conversations about it in the urban core was, well, St. Louis got more murders than we've got, or Chicago's got a lot more murders than we have. So how is this the murder capital? In addition to that, what they did was they used murders that took place in Kansas and added it to the story. And Kansas is another state. So why would you say that those murders came in, and like your teaser was 7 murders in the metro metro area. But a lot of people don't look at it like that. They're saying, well, that's Kansas and this is Missouri. We didn't count those murders in our 72 homicides for the year. So it's a nickel on one hand and 5 cents in the other.
You know, we make a big deal in this community about the homicide count, Nick. That's the most sensational crime, to use that word again. But the last time I looked at crime stats on the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department's website, every category of Part 1 crime is up this year. Aggravated assault, rape, robbery. Again, we can nitpick words here. We got a big problem here at home.
And if we don't figure out something to do about these guns and all these guns on the street and the accessibility to guns, we'll be having this conversation for a long time. You can get a gun when you can't get a glass of water.
Wanted a Republican to challenge United States Senator Claire McCaskill. The Missouri Democrat is up for re-election next year, and the candidate Republicans were hoping would unseat McCaskill says this week she's skipping the race.
It's time we hold Washington accountable.
Congresswoman Ann Wagner, a former ambassador and head of the Missouri Republican Party, made her decision over the 4th of July holiday. She represents suburban St. Louis in the U.S. House. Why would the woman viewed as the front-runner to challenge the Missouri Democratic senator take a pass? Is McCaskill more formidable than Republicans have been letting on, Steve?
Well, she is formidable. Make no mistake. She's a two-term incumbent now, Nick, gearing up for a third run. She's a hustler. She'll cross every T, dot every I to do what she has to do to win here. Ann Wagner's decision was partly based on personal considerations with her family. And I also think you can't ignore the fact that a lot of leading Republicans in Missouri, Jack Danforth among them, are pointing to the state's new Attorney General, a guy named Josh Hawley, as the guy they think should run against McCaskill next year. My column today deals with that. Josh Hawley would be a formidable candidate, a far cry from a guy named Todd Akin, whom Claire McCaskill defeated in 2012, and he's the guy who made that famous comment about legitimate rape. Josh Hawley is no Todd Akin, and Democrats in Missouri should be very concerned about.
But Josh Hawley has only been in office just for a matter of months, though, as a Missouri Attorney General.
Right, and he rode the coattails and benefited from the fact that Donald Trump reached that base and got that voting base out. With a one-on-one with him and Claire, I don't know if he could tap into that base to get them out. You know, he's filed a lawsuit about something, and he's done a couple of things, but I don't think he has the charisma right now or the base to go out and challenge Claire.
Okay. Now, I did see, though, the Republicans are struggling to find somebody to go up against Claire McCaskill, at least on the Kansas side. There's enough Democrats to fill Sprint Center, it seems, to take on Kevin Yoder in the Kansas 3rd District. And I saw that on your news site this week.
That is correct. A Prairie Village teacher entered the race yesterday. There were already 3 other formally declared candidates in the Democratic race, as well as Jay Seide, who's saying he's still considering doing it. You know, I think one thing, you saw Hillary Clinton take District 3, the district that Kevin Yoder represents. And so Democrats in the area think, okay, we've got an area that is shifting toward a more moderate desire out of their representation than Kevin Yoder has offered. Plus, it's the cycle after a presidential election. 2010 is when Republicans swept through the House and took control over there again. Traditionally, you would assume that Democrats are going to have a very, very strong performance in 2018, but things are awfully topsy-turvy these days.
I did note, though, that the head of the Kansas Republican Party says he wasn't losing any sleep over this. None of these are big names.
No, but a couple of these folks are people worth taking seriously, and voters will get to know them now in the months ahead, Nick. And I think this notion that so many Democrats are circling Yoder is a sign of just how emboldened Democrats feel these days.
I've often wondered what effect a winning Kansas City Royals team has had on our other baseball club, the T-Bones. Do as many people go to games out there? Well, some of that question is answered this week. Few are going, so few, in fact, that Wyandotte County is now helping pay the ballpark's property taxes and electric bills just to keep the place open. The unified government, which purchased the Community America ballpark 3 years ago, says it was better to kick in more subsidies rather than risk having it sit empty. Is that what would happen if the county did nothing, Steve Okra?
It's possible. I mean, the Kansas City T-Bones are independent league. They're not affiliated with any Major League Baseball franchise. I mean, it's in the world of baseball, it's a fairly low level of professional baseball. And you're right. I mean, when the Royals got better, before people would think about, we'll go to the T-Bones because, the Royals, it's not great baseball and the prices are so much higher. Now the Royals are a lot more exciting. Another thing has happened too. I mean, when the T-Bones came to that Village West area, it was one of the main things to go do. And that was back in about 2003. And since then, Sporting Kansas City has become a much bigger affair with its new stadium than it used to be. And so the T-Bones, I think, are really kind of a casualty in some sense to that. I mean, their attendance has been slipping since about 2010. I think the most recent year figures about 213,000 people went to the stadium. So it's a tough business for that type of baseball in any kind of context. And when you kind of add in some of these other factors that we've talked about, it's just going to get it's going to get tougher for them. And the unified government, as you pointed out, they bought the stadium as kind of a bailout, if you will, in 2014, and they will keep arguing it's better to have a baseball team playing in there and people coming and spending money in that area than have it sit empty and sit on our books, and we would have to pay for maintenance anyway.
And the mayor of Wyandotte County vigorously defending these subsidies, saying, we're spending a lot less than what some others are. I think the Chiefs and the Royals, Jackson County gave almost $600 million, he says, to the Chiefs and Royals. Does he have a point then? And these sports subsidies are happening all over.
Sports subsidies happen everywhere, Nick, and that's what you need to keep teams, and you keep them in Wyandotte County to get people to go to the other stores around there. Two quick thoughts. One, the T-Bones as a minor league team, Nick, have got to start marketing themselves. Minor league baseball is supposed to be fun and quirky, little dogs running out with baseballs around their chin to deliver the baseballs to the umpire to begin every game. That's what minor league baseball has to be. I never hear a word about the T-Bones, at least in my neighborhood. We have lots of kids in our neighborhood. The other thing I think people got to think about, is this notion that minor league baseball, that's what it's got to be, and where they have to go to get that kind of crowd.
Speaking of financial bailouts, Kansas City has been using tax money this week to bail out the American Jazz Museum. You may recall the museum was touting a world-class jazz and heritage fest for May. Well, it went on as scheduled, but the world-class acts never got paid. Their checks bounced, and the chair of the museum's board of directors confirms that the city had to bail out the festival to the tune of $117,000. Now, Eric, this was the festival that promised Janelle Monáe as the headliner and then had to retract that after the singer said that was an alternative fact. What went so terribly wrong?
Too much, too soon. I think they need to go back and build up a little momentum, because it hasn't been the same as like in the several years ago when it was real hot, Rhythm and Ribs, and it drew that crowd, and then it died out. They missed a year, and then it kind of died out a little bit, and you had a change in leadership with the director, so that was an effective part. Chepto is a nice person.
That's the person who runs the Jazz Museum.
Yeah, I like her, but I don't know if she's the right person for that position, because you have to have somebody that has the jazz connection in order to get people out into that venue for those events. And I just don't think that she has that. And a lot of it had to do, in addition to that, with security and how they had it marked off, because there were a lot of people just walking in free. There were people that weren't paying.
Well, I was surprised that more than anything. Yes, a lot of events don't work out. We've had balloon fests in Kansas City and other things that have collapsed. They've not financially made it. But then cities don't come in and bail them out. Is it unusual that the city would come in and give them this money?
Well, the city has a bit of a different relationship with some of the institutions at 18th and Vine, including the Jazz District. But so it's a little bit of a tough spot for the city to be in. And really, one of the ways the city promotes itself is through its jazz heritage. And I think maybe from the city's standpoint, if they sort of let that go, that'd be kind of a bad image for Kansas City.
And they really didn't have a real headliner. They had a lot of acts and they had a lot of things going on, but they didn't have a real headliner to draw people down there and say, oh, I'm excited, I've got to go do this. And they didn't have that, so.
Yeah.
Well, as one of our producers said, who is big into jazz, it was also a Memorial Day weekend.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of other competing events going on at that same time. We have cities bailing out festivals and sports teams. What about shopping malls? Is the City of Independence going to bail out Independence Center? You may miss that story, but one of the last thriving indoor malls in our metro faces an uncertain future. The owner of Independence Center Mall says they cannot pay back a $200 million loan on the property, and they're set to go into default next week. Travis asks, how is this even possible? It seems most of the storefronts are filled every time we're in there. So what is going on, Steve Vockroff?
Well, with Independence Center, it's a little murky as to what the situation is, but generally it's reflective of the difficulty that the retail world is having. And malls like this are dependent on anchor stores. And if you look at what's going on in the broader landscape of large retail stores, I mean, Sears just earlier this spring in their public files with the Securities Exchange Commission hinted at the fact that they may not be able to go on as a going concern, which is, for investors is a very scary.
So why is it that Oak Park Mall seems to thrive, and that also has huge anchors? Nordstrom, which is not doing well financially on a national basis, Macy's, Dillard's. How do they do so well?
Yeah, Oak Park's always been kind of one of those outliers when we talk about the enclosed mall model that's generally fallen out of favor nationally. That's the one that sticks around. I think it's in an area where there's a lot of discretionary spending. There's a lot of good foot traffic and vehicle traffic that goes in that area. So, Oak Park makes a good study for how you do survive as an enclosed mall.
Let's continue on for a moment with our look at mall misery in our metro. It's going on 12 years and still nothing has replaced the old Mission Mall off Shawnee Mission Parkway in Johnson County. It remains the most controversial hole in the ground in our metro, and after one promise after another, the developer behind the project has unveiled a new plan for the site called Mission Gateway with a bigger price tag than before. We've talked about this project on and off for more than a decade. What will it take for the Mission City Council to pull the plug on developer Tom Valenti after so many years of broken promises, Jade Center?
Well, the thing that may actually be the straw that finally breaks the camel's back is when he comes to the City Council with his newest public finance incentive request. So in the previous version of the project, he requested about $30 million. The city's financial advisor gave a presentation to them this week, and he hinted at the fact that because of all the losses that the developers incurred over the past few years, he may be coming back asking for more. The votes to provide any public incentives in the first place were already pretty tight, and he has not done himself any favors, ingratiated himself to the City Council since. When his latest plan got approved back at the end of last year, he suggested he was ready to get dirt moving. He was going to build one strip of retail all by himself without any public financing. He hoped to get that done this spring. We've heard nothing about it. So the patience is definitely wearing thin.
Is it hard, though, for them to ditch the person who's been part of this project for this almost a decade, Steve Vockroff, because what would happen without him?
Well, he owns the property, so it's a little bit different than, say, if the city owned the property and they were just trying to find a master developer. I mean, I think that if it was that sort of arrangement, they would have kicked him out years ago. He owns it, so the city's a little bit hamstrung in terms of what they could do. I mean, they could always say, we're not going to give you the incentives that you want, and that would probably put them in a tight spot and maybe motivate them to sell the property to somebody else. But that's really on the city. That's really the city's decision to make. But Jay's right. I mean, he kind of built himself up with some goodwill, and when he got rid of the Walmart proposal for that project, which had always been pretty controversial. But now with the sort of talk about asking for more incentives, I don't know that really helps his cause anymore.
There's an interesting broader question here, Nick, as we talk about the future of malls, so many of which are struggling. What is the future of retail in this country? If you want to extrapolate down the road 10, 15, 20 years, what's the future of the Country Club Plaza, or Westport, as a country goes more and more towards everything mailed to us? What does this mean for places like that, and how is the city going to prepare for that kind of transformation?
And that's an excellent point, especially in the light of the fact that it seems that every developer, when they come with any kind of new retail project, is asking for public financing incentives, and they usually last for about 20 years. 20 years from now, the retail market in this country is going to be totally different, and the cities might be stuck with these CIDs. And
Steve's right. There's a lot of empty office space on the plaza. If you drive through there, and I never remember growing up going through there, that being that many vacant office spaces through there.
A little further south, as we were talking about the Mission Gateway project, a little further south, the Metcalf South Shopping Centre, and it looks like a bomb fell on it, if you haven't been over there, as bulldozers prepare to make way for a new Lowe's home improvement store on the site. This video shot early this week. It still doesn't fits well with some residents. Gabby writes, I'm disgusted with OP caving into a big box at Metcalfe South after years of touting their master plan. What a mess. They pretend to listen to their constituents and spend loads of money on consultants and then throw it all away. That master plan was supposed to be for a pedestrian-friendly, mixed-use development. But put simply, would the market simply not support something like that, Jay?
Well, it's a very confusing situation because 2 years ago, yeah, the developer Lane 4 came out with this really big, comprehensive, mixed-use, walkable development. Never actually got to the presentation stage. They never brought it to the city for consideration because conversations with city staff, there came some conflict out of that. And basically there was a big box retailer, still not disclosed who it was, that the city didn't like as part of. They were going to ask for public financing incentives. They pulled that back. They came forward with this proposal that's exactly like the Home Depot proposal across the street. So,
in general, in this Missions or Metcalfe South thing really encapsulates this idea. There's a real disconnect between what city halls want and what they think developers can do and what developers think they can finance. And cities want sort of these big, opulent, mixed-use developments, and those are pretty hard to pull off. And I think the fact that we're getting a Lowe's, and which, by the way, they're not getting any incentives for it, sort of suggests that that gap between what bureaucrats want and what developers think they can do.
Speaking of irate residents, how about viewers irate? I'm talking about the streetcar election in Kansas City. The vote now underway, where only a small slither of voters got a say, and those ballots actually have to be notarized if they are to count. That's the news this week. Minister Vern Barnett writes to us and says, how can this cumbersome way of avoiding a citywide election not appear to be rigging the outcome? Just another hurdle that makes it less likely people will turn in ballots?
Well, yeah, this is the process that's used, and Reverend Barnett is correct. There is a sense this is the way to pass a streetcar expansion. If you put it to a vote of the entire city, a good chance that that would not pass. So this has been the mechanism that the city has put forward to expand the streetcar
But is it
line.
disenfranchising voters, though, by also requiring a notary to come and to certify your signature, Eric?
Yeah, it is an extra step. It's a couple of extra steps that they got to go through just to vote for that. So yeah, it is kind of burdensome.
And that is our Week in Review. Our thanks to our news reviewers from the Shawnee Mission Post, Jay Center, and from your Kansas City Star, Steve Vonkrot, keeping you up to date weekdays 11 to noon on KCUR, Steve Kraske, and from The Call, Eric Wesson. I'm Nick Haynes. From all of us here at KCPT, thanks for spending part of your weekend with us.